Earlier on the channel I posted a video of me shooting the VZ-52-57 light machine gun in 7.62 by 39. So we're going to try to get in depth on it, on why it should have been a great gun and it is a mediocre to poor gun at best. Little background, 1952, they adopt this gun in 7.62 by 45. And, you know, on paper it should be perfect. It has a quick change barrel. It runs off of belts, or it runs off of magazines. It's capable of semi and full. That time period, you would think, wow, 1952, that was so ahead of its time. And then let's look at it realistically. Although the quick change barrel actually does work well. Actually works a lot like the Bren gun. That is the only thing that they got right. When they redid this gun, well, first when they did it in 7.62 by 45, there was a magazine that went here. You would think if you're adopting a new rifle, the VZ-52 rifle and the VZ-52 machine gun that use the same caliber and you could put magazines, you would think there would be an interchangeability of magazines. There is not. A VZ-52 magazine will not work in this gun. So what happens is, a VZ-52 rifle magazine will not work. What happens is you end up having to issue two magazines. They didn't even think it far enough through to make it so the 10-round VZ-52 rifle magazine could be an emergency magazine to be used in this. It doesn't work that way. So, moved to 1957. They rechambered these to work in 7.62 by 39. So now they have a magazine, which apparently really never worked that well anyway. They don't make a new magazine. I've seen original mags that were converted to 7.62 by 39. They don't work that well either. They made some minor spacer in the top cover changes to allow for the 7.62 by 39, and obviously they went to a smaller ammunition box for the 7.62 by 39 cartridges shorter. We took an AK-47 magazine and tried to adopt it to work. Get it to click in and like that, but it never functioned. And the reason it never functioned properly is because the feed pawl that moves in and out, and we'll show you all that in detail, we had to machine away a large portion of the feed lips of the magazine. What we found was when you load the magazine with only a third of the one side of the feed lip, when it stopped on that side, that round had a tendency to pop off, jam the gun. It would have been nice to continue with that project, but the gentleman that owned the company that I imported these guns for lost interest in it. So the Czechs look at it and say, well, we got the quick change barrel done right. Let's make it belt fed too. Well, they came out with a 50-round belt. This is a 50-round belt. Great idea. Not really. They designed this belt that it can only be a 50-round belt. There's no way to link it together to use this weapon in the sustained fire role. If you run the belt out of the side of the gun and don't use the can, sometimes the gun because of the cyclic rate, cannot pull the ammunition up into the gun to make the gun function. Further, I took two of these belts and linked them together to make a 100-round belt just to try it. Unless you have a second person feeding you the ammunition, the gun jams. So the belt was a failure. The magazines were a failure. Quick change barrel, that's okay. But let's be realistic, if you can't feed a gun in a combat situation, it's really not that great of a gun. If you go back to my firing video, you will see how fast this gun shoots. With a 50-round belt, it's really not practical at all. We're going to move in and show you some close-ups of the gun. For example, some of the idiosyncrasies that the Czechs like, when you take the belt out, and I don't know if you noticed it earlier, it's the top cover for the magazine well is also the latch for the barrel. On the assault drum, it's It's a 50 round drum and it feeds in here. For some reason the Czechs decided to include, and it's hard to get, a block, there it went down, that actually physically blocks this. Now, since there's no manuals that I can find in English, I don't know if this is supposed to be used to keep the belt from going in or forward when it's in the loaded position, or if this is supposed to be used when the magazine is in use. Either way, it's just an extra piece that when you're running the belt fed or running it as a belt fed, you have to push it up out of the way to feed it in. Like the UK-59, I'll kneel down here, like the UK-59, it uses that typical Czechoslovakian, really weird way of cocking the gun. I have to go over here to get off leverage. Like an MG434, you have the semi and full trigger. The safety is on this side, and when we do a close-up of this side, we'll show it to you. So what we have here was really, in my mind, the first attempt at a saw, or the idea of a saw that was executed extremely poorly, and which is unusual because I like Czech weapons. I think they're extremely well made. I just think they overthought it. They made it too hard. They could have made this so much simpler and it would have been a great gun. We'll take it apart here for you. We'll show you the belts. We'll show you the individual ammo can that they actually devised for this gun. And we'll walk you through it. And hopefully you'll learn something. And hopefully, if you're lucky enough someday, you might get to shoot one of these. We're going to move on to some close-ups. Alright, here's the 50 round belt that comes with the gun. First of all, the belt has a noticeably long and stepped starter tab. That only works because of how wide the receiver is, and if you will notice, we'll see if we can zoom in here, you will see that this belt is actually marked for VZ-52-57 instead of the VZ-52. Alright, we'll zoom back out. Now, it's 50 rounds and there's no provision on the end to attach another belt. We'll zoom back in here, and you can see on the back of these rounds these little lips. And then on the front, and this is the hardest part to see, there's a raised ridge right here. Okay? And what that does is when the belt's going through the gun and the bolt comes forward, if you can see, if I push on this bolt, it flexes. Well, in the gun there's a physical metal lip, and I'm going to show that to you in a second, that stops this belt, and that allows the bolt to strip the round out of the belt and feed it in. If we zoom back a little bit and get the gun in focus, you will see this little piece right here. And that's what hits that lip and stops the belt from going forward and allows to feed it into the gun. Also, I have the assault box. The assault box is pretty nicely made. Put your 50 rounds in here. And then when you're carrying it and not shooting it, it closes completely. There are two holes. When you go to click it on the gun and you want to shoot it and pull the tab out, these are spring loaded. You push them in, this goes up, out comes your belt, this goes on the side, and you can either feed the belt through manually or flip the top covers up. Okay, this is the 7.62 by 39 can. Actually has some evidence tape on it from the ATF. When you open the can up, you can see how they've actually broken it in so you can put in 50 round belts for the VZ-52-57. Loaded belts. Pretty nice little can actually, it's perfect for this gun. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of these cans around, but on the other hand, there aren't a lot of these belts around or these guns, so makes a nice little package. I'll move this out of the way. And here's the magazine I told you about. As I said, it's a standard AK. And what I want you to see on this is why magazines don't work on this gun. Here's your standard AK lip. Here's the lip that had to be cut away to clear the paw going back and forth within the gun. Obviously we welded on a catch to work in the magazine well, but we just couldn't get it to function the way it is. We might have done better to build up the front and move the magazine back a little bit. The problem with that is we couldn't figure out a way to do that, and the owner of the company lost interest in this magazine before we got the bugs worked out of it. However, if we zoom back in here, it does look pretty neat in the gun. So maybe sometime down the road we'll finish this, but for right now it's a dead item. Alright, we're going to do some close-ups of the gun here. It's a little more complicated because this gun is pretty complicated. I want to give you an overview of the gun. We'll start at the buttstock and we'll move forward. Zoom in here on the buttstock. As you can see, there's a raisable butt plate. Above the buttstock at the rear of the receiver is a tripod mount. However, this doesn't fit on the UK-59 tripod, and I can't find where there actually was a tripod used. As you move forward, you'll see the 2-position trigger for the semi and full auto. That slot there is when the belt box goes on, and you can see that that block I spoke about in the other part of the video is down blocking the entrance. As you go forward, you will see that the gas system is very similar to a Bren gun. The little stainless steel knob that's about 2 inches back from the gas system is where the front tripod mount went. Again, I haven't ever seen a tripod. The carry handle is fixed. The sights are offset like a Bren gun. It does look neat as hell. It's just terribly executed. As I did the overview, I told you about certain things. I'll point them out again. This is either a sling or tripod mount. This is definitely a tripod mount. Very similar to the UK-59, but smaller, so this will not fit or function on a UK-59. This is your offset sight. This is an incredibly well-made sight. Way better than the Bren gun. Of course, it was developed 20 years later. But the reason we're on this side is to show you how this cocks. This right here is the trick. This is your safety. If I can get it to, maybe have to be engaged. The safety's off right now. I pull this down with my thumb. I push this forward. I let it go up and I pull back. Now the safety will go up, gun will fire. I want to fire the gun, I push the safety down. I fire the gun. It fires like a machine gun, the gun's empty. Push it down, slide it forward, lock it back. Neat design, wow, really neat, over-engineered. And what's really bad about it is, should you get a stuck case, you have no direct connection to the bolt. You can't push the bolt forward or pull the bolt back without, of course, say you get a jam. You have to unlock this, move it forward, and all you can do with this is pull it back. You can't push it forward or wiggle it. You can get no leverage on the bolt. So it's really not a good design. What we're going to do is we're going to flip the gun around, and I'm going to show you how the belts go in. Here you can see where the belts go in. And this is all nickel steel. It's well made. But you can see this little block, which is, to me, a waste of time. But to put the belt in, you either reach in here and push it up, or there's a tab back there. In theory, you would use the long starter tab, push it through, lock the bolt open, push it through, and pull it all the way through. But should you be having trouble with it in the field, this all opens. Unlike the, say the HK21, where you have a feed box, which this actually does, the Czechs thought, oh, well, I might have to pull a belt out the top of the gun. So they did make the top cover open. Here's the piece that you have to cut out on the magazine lips to clear. And then here's the top cover for the magazine. So by doing that, you have complete access to the top feeding portion of the gun should you have a malfunction. And what we'll do is we'll zoom in here in a minute and show you the top of the gun, but if you watch this piece right here, see how it moves when the bolt cycles. That's why the magazine, we had so much trouble with the magazine. So we'll zoom in on the top of the gun, show you the open chamber, and show you how it's engraved. Alright, as you can see here, you can see how this is nickel steeled. It's well made. Here's your bolt. This little pin here, which is difficult to see, I'll roll it over. That's your ejector for your bottom eject. It's all high quality made, finely finished. And I'm going to try to make the bolt work while it's in this position so you can see the bolt cycle back. So now you've seen it in the nickel, the bolt's nickel steel. I'm going to do a separate video on field stripping for this gun because it's kind of involved, and if I don't, this video is going to be way longer than I need it to be. The final thing we're going to zoom in on is how they did the serial numbers and the proof marks. So basically there's an overview of the VZ-52-57. You combine this video with the shooting video and you'll get a feel for the gun. As I said, we'll do another video that shows field stripping to give you a detailed look at the inside, but I think this is enough for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it taught you something, and we'll keep chugging along. Thanks for watching.